Okay, welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic / Non-Classics. This is episode number 1279 and Doubleshot number, I think it was like 1173. I have two Marvel trades. The first one is the last one that collected from the series. The other one is the second to last trade. First up, the final trade. Spider-Man Deadpool Volume 8. Yes, 8, believe it or not. Actually, no, it's Volume 9, excuse me. This one's called Eventpool, collecting the last 5 issues of this series. Issues 46 to 50. I looked it up to see exactly how long ago was I reviewed the very first trade collected issue of the series. Which is basically Don't Call Out a Team Up, which is technically Volume 0. Which is kind of where we got started with that. Yeah. I reviewed that back in 2016, believe it or not. Yeah, almost 4 years ago, I did a review for it, which is kind of interesting to say the least. Yeah, where I reviewed it back when I did episode 0. I did volume 0 back in episode 298. That's how long ago I did this one, and I looked up and see exactly when I put it up. That was back in September 2016, so a little over 4 years ago I put this up. And it is quite something. This is another series, basically, I finished it because last year, I was putting behind me so many series last year, even some runs. This is the final trade of this series. Eventpool is the series finale for the series, where, continuing from the last trade, where Spider-Man and Deadpool end up in an alternate timeline, meet up with an alternate version of Silk, who's got Warlock as her arm. Yes, Warlock. Along with a feral version of Wolverine and Pac. Well, not Pac. Pac, the short guy from Alpha Flight. Which apparently they call the Underground, because apparently the whole world is basically a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Though by the end of it, they're back to the regular world. Everything is back to normal by the end of this. Yep, and they kind of in the way in the partnership of the two. Yep. Also, the one of the covers is a slight homage to an old Transformers cover, which, well, it kind of reminds me of an issue of. It reminds me of, I think it was issue 2 or 3 of New Avengers / Transformers, which, by the way, that miniseries is canon to Transformers, not to the Marvel Comic Universe. Yeah, a guy called the Manipulator, this gigantic being, which reminds me a lot of Galactus, which is quite interesting. And they kind of do something that Deadpool did at the end of the Gary Duggan run. Yes, they referenced Gary Duggan when he did this, where they meet up with a rare, possibly Robbie Thompson. I don't know. The guy wearing a bucket in his head, so I don't know what the heck Robbie Thompson even looks like. Yeah, this is the finale for his run, with artwork by basically 2 different artists. You have Matt Haruk does issues 46, 47, and 50. The 50 is also co-done by Jim Towie, who does issues 48, 49. Yep, the cover art is Dave Johnson's 46. And 49 and 50, while 47 to 48 are Will Robinson and Maury Howell. Yes, so basically, this goes out with a bang. This basically just pokes fun at crossover events, which is fine. There's even guest appearance by freaking Gwenpool of all people. Yes, Gwenpool. Yep. But this is actually pretty good. Nice way to end the series at issue 50. By the way, this cover is actually a homage to. It's basically the 5th issue of the series. I'm gonna give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Yep. Final thoughts on this series. It is something. No, this was the second comic book to end at issue 50. This ended. What was it Actually, about a couple of years ago, this ended. It took a while for my local library to get their hands on this trade, because the last trade I reviewed for this series was a year ago. Yeah, a little over a year ago. And you're probably thinking, why the heck did it take you so long to track down the last trade? Because my local library didn't have it, because they basically temporarily stopped buying new trades. Yeah, that was a simple reason for it. But this was a pretty fun series to read. Originally started by Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness. Excuse me, who had a pretty interesting run on this series. Yes. Though the interesting thing when it comes to the series is that they were not the only writers for the series. Oh no. Like, of course this book was done by Robbie Thompson, of course. Yes. They also had Gary Duggan do some issues. Yes, this was interesting. Yes. Now, it was something, though, that it took basically the third volume to pretty much wrap up Joe Kelly's run for the book. Yeah, Joe Kelly and Emma what took it was basically the first 5 issues, 8 through 10, 13, 14, and 17, 18. Like, that's 5 plus 3, it's 8, 9, 10, 11. It's like 12 issues over the course of a year and a half. Why the heck they did it for? I have no idea. It's particularly quite weird. Heck, they even have a Penn and Teller do an issue because they guest starred in one of the issues, which that was interesting. The Gary Duggan issue was basically kind of a sequel to get this, Amazing Spider-Man 14, which was the debut of the Green Goblin. They brought back the director from that particular comic in present day because that director never seen in years. They also basically make references to the Deadpool movie. Oh yeah. Get Ryan Reynolds, he'll do it perfectly fine. I'm like, okay. Interesting to say the least. Yeah. But of course, the final writer was in fact Robbie Thompson. Yeah, he took over the book with issue number 19, and he did it from that point forward. Yep. And believe it or not, this book actually had issues that crossed over with of all things, Deadpool. Yes. This series was actually an actual crossover, believe it or not, with Deadpool called To Us Part, which was simply put Gary Duggan writing out of the series Deadpool's smoking hot wife, who was a demon. Yes, despite the fact that I kind of felt this was a good development for Deadpool getting himself a wife, he got himself a daughter. I thought this was good. Heck, the woman was beautiful. Then they had to get written off. Oh yeah, she got married to Dracula, and apparently, like, when Dracula appeared, apparently Jason there apparently didn't get the memo that Dracula is married to Zakilla too. Yep. Also, they brought in a character that Robbie Thompson created, the Master Matrix, who apparently was a robot that was created by Richard and Mary Parker, believe it or not. Yes, who were spies for the CIA. Who apparently found him, and then basically he was a recurring plot device of most of Robbie Thompson's run before he got written off. And he popped up in here just to say goodbye to the series. Yes, though when this series ended at issue 50, because the last series that ended this number was Old Man Logan. Yeah, it did. It's quite interesting, though, to say the least, where this book managed to last how long it did. Let's see if we can find here. Like, let's see if I can find it here. Like, how long ago was it this series thing? Because I don't think it ended that too long ago. Yes, the 50th issue of the series. Let's see, this ended back in May of 2019. So it ended almost 2 years ago. Yeah, and the manipulator was Robbie Thompson. Yep, it was Robbie Thompson. Which, yeah, that's interesting though. The writer of the series apparently decided to become the final villain of the book, which, that was interesting to say the least. Yes. Why he did this? No idea. Yeah. I mean, aside from work on this series, I get the reason why he threw in Silk where she appeared a few times in the course of the series. Well, there was a reason for that. Because he wrote her series. Yeah. That was the reason for it. Yeah. I think it was great the fact that he actually did that. And I kind of wish you showed a little bit more of this series because they had a few other characters pop up in here. Heck, they even had Screwball. Yes, Screwball. Which, believe it or not, they had this funny thing with her, where in the Superior Spider comic, where Dr. Octopus, who was possessing Dr. Octopus Spider-Man's body, where she's like, "You punched me in the boob." I'm like, "Wow, Otto, are you a pervert by any chance?" That's why Slott wrote and be like that. Yeah. But Robbie Thompson's book, his comedy is good. But if I would say my first favorite writer who basically is good with humor, maybe Robbie Thompson's good at humor, but I would say the best people at Marvel Comics good with humor. There's a couple of different ones. Gary Duggan is great with humor, along with Greg Pak. Greg Pak is legendary for his humor. Peter David is good with humor too. Slott has humor here and there. Robbie Thompson is just a good storyteller. He has some good humor bits and pieces here and there, but not like something to make you just laugh. But that's Robbie Thompson. He's a good writer, mind you. But this is actually one of two books I've actually read that he actually wrote. The only books he wrote I can think of aside from this one was Silk. And aside from that, I don't think he wrote a... Oh yeah, he did write Spidey. Yeah, he wrote the Spidey series, which lasted for 12 issues, which was a comic book in the Ultimate Universe. Alright. Moving on to a different book, which is the Pit Sub trade of this particular run. This is The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Volume 11. Call your squirrel friend. Yes, another trade basically for this series has named Squirrel in it. Okay, fine, whatever. They have... This book collects issues of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, issues 42 to 46 of Volume 2, which they actually have it as sort of in a way as basically a joke from Marvel Legacy, where 42 was the 50th issue of the series, which that's actually true, believe it or not. Yep. Yeah, this basically has her just deal with the Water Realm stuff. That's what this trade is. Yeah, just basically, despite she finds some little Water Realms, she doesn't do anything, just talks to Loki the whole time. It's mostly like, despite the fact this is a tie-in to War of the Realms, it's like it's a background thing, basically, to her talking to Loki, which I found to be interesting to say the least. Because who would have thought that a conversation between the god of lies, Loki, and a character who was basically a character as part of a squirrel having an interesting conversation. Also, King of the Conqueror, and of course, like Old Lady Doreen. Yep. And fun fact, Water Realms is the only event that her book ever tied into the whole time this book has been published. And not long after they wrapped up the time for this book, the book ended at issue 50. Yep. Yeah. Aside from the fact Ryan North is the writer of the book, who does a pretty good job with this book, there's like 3 artists on these issues. No joke. You have Nomi Franquez, Derek Charm, and Erica Hernandez. Also, Squirrel Girl gets a mask in these issues. Just cuz. I think the War of the Realm stuff is fine. I kind of wish... Oh yeah, they also poke fun at the fact in the main event that Canada was occupied by the Frost Giants. So, they actually revealed that a politician was a collaborator. Yeah, they revealed this. Oh yeah, they bribed him in order to basically... They threatened to kill his family. Like, not kill his family in exchange for basically occupying freaking Canada of all things. Which they reference also on the pages of Avengers when Black Panther breaks into the headquarters of the Squadron Supreme America. Where it's like, oh yeah, you chased the Frost Giants into Canada, but you didn't go any further than that. You didn't capture them, you didn't do anything with them. Just, nope, just hit another country. Like, it's not our problem, it's Canada's problem. And you pretty much doomed that country. Yep. which that's a my reference here. But this book is quite interesting. I mean, I like the King Conqueror stuff. I think War Drums was quite more interesting than King Conqueror. I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Yeah, we have one more trade left to go for the series, and that's it. That collects the last 4 issues of the series. Who knows when my local library is going to be hands the trade. And as of that, I have pretty much reviewed almost this entire series for Squirrel Girl. Yeah. And yes, I've talked about Squirrel Girl in comic history when I was talking about Steve Ditko. Yes. Well, his known creations. He first did for Marvel, and then for Charlton. And then I'm still planning on doing Charlton. Basically, the next one I'm going to talk about is The Question. Bless you! You're welcome. Yeah, I still plan to do that. It just... not today, because I want to get some anime reviews done. I might do it tomorrow, hopefully. I might do 2 comic histories tomorrow because, well, I want to basically do both questions, both the original question and the second one. Which, that should be interesting to talk about both of them in 2 separate videos. Especially since they're both really good characters. Yep. So yeah, that's it for this review. Next one is going to be a review of the newest episode of Shima Half-Day Princess. And I did check with Fire Force. No, they did not release new episode for it this week. Nope. Hopefully next week. So after Shima Half-Day Princess, next I'm going to do is going to be Quintessal Quintuplets. Okay? See you next video. Bye.